Well, I met Mark at a project that we both did together in Germany, and we played this sort of double concerto, I guess, of Tan Dun. And I spoke to Mark back then, and we both agreed that at some point we really need to hook up and do something together.
Well, this piece was written right after the 9/11 tragedy and the attacks here in New York City. Mind you, it's not a tragic piece at all. It's about heroism, and it was about the time that we were living right after the tragedy, where people were stepping up, especially in New York and other places, communities all around the country, providing support for people in need, coming to people's aid. And I thought in some ways that musicians were also responding in very profound ways.
Working with Mark, it's, you know, a lot of it is really, I think at a certain level of artistry, you kind of just hear things and you figure out how they work. So I respond a lot to the way I hear Mark do things, and then I sort of, in a way, make the cello be the extension of that. And the great thing about the cello is that, you know, it really has deep, I mean, it is just a big violin, you know. In my evolution as an artist, I've explored a lot of different traditions and different genres, and I love sort of opening up a new door to a new, and so that's what this concerto has done for me.
I think that's probably been one of the greatest hurdles of my composing for orchestra and writing these concertos, is the role of the orchestra. How close in proximity to style and technique am I supposed to bring that body of, you know, of musicians along? By the time we are now at this fifth concerto, this double concerto for violin and cello, you'll hear the orchestra really take on our characteristics. Matter of fact, you know, I might pass a theme to Maya, and then Maya passes it to the orchestra. So we've got this three-way communication. I think that's real evident with not only the musicians playing it in the orchestra, but the audience as well.
In some ways, I think probably the first movement, although it may not seem that way, is probably the hardest one, because the challenge in the way that it's composed is to keep the energy going, since it starts from this really kind of very intimate dialogue, and it develops slowly, but our responsibility as the soloist is to constantly just keep it going and keep the feel of the large picture. So it's a pretty challenging movement, and when we do it right, it's very rewarding because you really get a sense of this big arc that happens in that movement. I love the second movement. I mean, I just love the sweep of it, and I love the harmonies and the sonority and just the way it unfolds with the orchestra. It's just really beautiful.
Interpret waltzes in many different ways, more romantic, classical, old-timey, and actually within this movement we actually get to all of these. So there's a section of it where feels very almost Appalachian, old-timey, where we're interpreting the melody very rhythmically in a very danceable waltz feeling, and then there's other times where it is like more sweeping. For some reason, I've always been attracted to waltzes. My dad and mom also danced a great waltz. So I can't help but envision my folks, I guess, strutting across the dance floor, dancing to something like that. Well, that cadenza is just, you know, an incredible effort, especially from the cello.
This cadenza is incredibly difficult. I mean, there's no other way to put it. It's really, really challenging and virtuosic, you know, exploration, and it's fantastic. I mean, it's the kind of thing where you can never feel too comfortable with, which I love. There are several really kind of great duos for cello in the classical repertoire. One is the Kodai, and sometimes I think of the Kodai duo when I play this. Of course, it's a very different style, but it's certainly not easier than the Kodai, if not harder.
The rhythms are so aggressive. You know, we're playing like, you know, triple forte, and we're trying to also play really in time and rhythmically punctuating out these phrases. This was one of the most thrilling things I've been able to be a part of, at least with my music.
very exciting for the cello to be fiddling like that, you know, and doing all this fantastic, you know, rhythmical stuff and double stops, and it's all over the place. So it's really great. You know, it's interesting because I thought about the other day that Mark and I sort of come from two opposite places and kind of met because he was a child prodigy playing, you know, bluegrass, violin, you know, and fiddling and all that, and I was a child prodigy doing classical music, and it really wasn't until my early 20s that I started to explore other genres. We've both kind of did this great evolution as artists, and I think that's probably part of why, you know, we can relate to each other so well. I really believe that there's something, you know, that as an artist you can't just stay in one place your whole life. I think you constantly have to evolve, and I think when you do that, then you're opening yourself to different things, and then you can really collaborate in different levels with other people, and that's the most rewarding thing.
First starting to write a piece like this double concerto, and you imagine being on stage with someone to pull this off with you, you know, and have it be as successful as this. It's very rewarding, very enjoyable.